G'day, my name is Mitchell Casey. I'm the new EP here at ZAR Athletica Newstead. I've been practicing exercise physiology for 5 years now, and I've previously worked with Svet and Darko and some of the boys before. So I'm excited now to get started fresh here in Newstead at ZAR. I became an exercise physiologist first and foremost through my passion of sport. There's a story I like to tell everyone that when I'm primarily a basketball player and a volleyball player, and when I was growing up I developed Ojko disease that affected my knees from lots of training and over-management of sport. And I went to see a physio, and their treatment for that was basically to tell me just stop exercising, stop doing all activity for a whole year. And I sort of thought to myself, that's pretty shit advice. I don't really want that to be my method of rehabbing. So I then investigated further on more things that I could do and started working with a different physio and exercise physiologist from there. And that sort of began my process of active rehab, working with exercise as a way to manage injuries and not just simply working around and avoiding injuries in my past. So with the rehab, with my injuries in the past, I sort of learned the value of exercise in a way to work alongside athletes and general populations in order to get the best out of someone without them being deconditioned and reducing their ability to play the sport or manage everyday life, and basically just performing in whatever matters to the person. So for me, that was getting back to basketball and volleyball as soon as possible and not missing those key trials and key games that allow me to keep performing at what I considered an elite level. So with my passion for sport pretty clear, I'd been set on exercising myself through basketball and volleyball. I found myself going to university to study exercise and sports science for a 4-year degree majoring in clinical exercise physiology. In my last year, it led me to meeting Svet on my placement, where I actually completed here at Newstead alongside the river. So I've sort of come full journey now, and I'm finding myself back in Newstead where it all began, which is pretty cool. So my experience as an exercise physiologist in private practice has brought me all over the place, from McGregor to Newstead, West End, and now back here in Newstead. I've had the pleasant opportunity to work with a lot of different people from all walks of life, different backgrounds, plenty of different conditions. To draw on a few examples, I've worked with patients from a musculoskeletal rehab point of view, gentlemen coming back from ACL reconstruction, trying to get them back fit and healthy. It's really rewarding to see patients come from such a deconditioned phase post-operative care where they're struggling to walk without crutches. We slowly bring them along, get them weight bearing, strengthening the leg, getting the range back into the knee, and then slowly we're moving on to body weight exercises, using some of the machine weights, getting them into a bit more strength and conditioning. And then eventually they're moving on to performance, whether it's getting back into the sport, such as soccer, AFL, basketball, and getting them back to the level that they were pre-injury, or if it's someone who is just wanting to get back to exercising or playing around with their kid in the backyard, running on the beach, doing something that they didn't think that they would be able to do after the surgery. When we reflect back 12 months ago, it's a pretty cool experience. To look at the milestones that we've been able to hit along the journey. It's something that I find really, really rewarding as an EP. Another thing that we were trained at university to handle with is metabolic conditions such as diabetes is a huge one that I've had a lot of experience with and worked with a lot of patients with. It's another area that I find really, really rewarding. Again, a bit different to the other guys where we're working with higher performing athletes. I'm trying to take someone who's typically a non-mover, or perhaps they've been sedentary at work or something like that, and changing lifestyle that way and getting someone to break barriers in terms of their attitude towards exercise, attitude towards food, and slowly chipping away and making sure that they're able to move with confidence and establish a routine that's okay for them to keep going consistently. And that's really the key with that kind of condition, where we're taking small steps, we're getting those small victories, but when we look over a long period of time, it's really valuable and life-changing in some circumstances where patients are able to self-manage themselves and exercise for the rest of their life and stay healthy and live with a condition like that as if it's really not very effective on their overall lifestyle. Another thing that I'm really passionate about and is quite applicable for a year like 2020 is mental health and the benefits of exercise when it comes to maintaining good mental health. It's something that I've seen even in my friends and my social groups, people who struggle with that. And the importance that exercise can have on things like depression, things like anxiety. Even for example, anxiety, we know it's a stress on the body. And if we're able to introduce a controlled stress, which is really what exercise is, in a controlled environment and gradually build up the body's resistance to that, we're able to apply that resilience that the body gets to that type of stress to something like a clinical anxiety example, where the patient has been given the power to sort of manage that in an everyday lifestyle. And that's something that's super rewarding, and I think that isn't given enough attention in terms of most everyday health. Even when you go to the doctors, sometimes, especially with us men, it can be quite challenging to talk about. So I like to be an open book with all of my clients struggling with mental health and how exercise can really benefit them ongoing from there. So on top of all the clinical or musculoskeletal conditions that I see, I also just like to work with people who are passionate about exercise, who are keen to get fitter, healthier, even if they're completely healthier, whether they're looking to increase their cardiovascular fitness, build on a bit of muscle, whether they're training for a triathlon that's coming up in a few months, or they've never done something like that. Even if you're just a weekend warrior and you want to get better at your social basketball league, I love helping people out with that, and I get big reward from seeing those improvements. On top of that, helping people with their weight loss, decreasing body fat percentage, getting leaner whilst maintaining their muscle mass is something that I've also had a lot of experience with and am passionate about helping those people. The biggest thing, and one of the biggest takeaways I've learned over the years and that I've learned from my clients and even with myself is I'll always drive this point with all of my clients, and that is that consistency is king. And I preach that to everyone that I see. I try to preach it to myself. I know that even as a personal example, 2020 has been a bit of a tough year to get motivated, you know, with COVID around and everything like that. Sometimes we fall out of habits that were built up over long periods of time. When it comes to consistency, I would always recommend starting with something achievable, actioning that to the best of your ability. Previously, before this year, I was used to training 5-6 days a week. I fell into a bit of a bad habit where I was down to 1 or 2 sessions a week, but recently allowing myself, because I know I've got lots of expectations. I'm an exercise physiologist, I should be training all the time, but if I was to go too hard, too fast, I know I would relapse, and then I would lose all of that good work that I've put in. So it's important to stay aware of the fact that you'll graduate slowly, but again, when you look back over the period of time that you've been working, all that work builds up to make something significant, and you can be proud of looking back at. So part of that consistency that I was talking about is the fact that we want to, I like to record everything down and make notes of what I'm doing in terms of making a plan. If that's achievable, writing down the steps that I want to take to get there. And then the last bit is holding myself accountable. And if I don't think that I'm able to do that, I'm going to get or hire someone else to get me accountable, whether it's a coach, an exercise physiologist, a mentor, someone that's going to be looking out for my best interest. And I do it myself. As an EP, I've got people that I work with that energize me, motivate me, and hold myself accountable. It's about breaking down those barriers, and the less barriers that you can have, whether it's organization, your schedule's too busy. If you've got something locked in, ready to go, it's going to be easy for you to get to the gym or do a workout at home, whatever it is. But the more that we can remove those barriers, the more successful you're going to set yourself up to be. Another tip and advice that I've got for anyone watching, and something that I like to do as an exercise physiologist working with my clients, is the stuff in the gym is all well and good, and the stuff we accomplish in that hour is excellent, but often I will give patients some homework to work on, whether it be some mobility to help them with their performance in the gym, help them gain some extra mobility, whether it's actioning some foam rolling or even attending something completely different, like a Pilates class that can, again, tie back into to look at their strength training and benefit them further from there. I like to take a holistic approach. I don't really subscribe to if you want to be a weightlifter, all you do is weightlifting. There's a whole range of things that goes into it. And I like to work with my patients to look at all aspects of health and fitness and tie it all together. But sometimes it does require a bit of homework and a bit of accountability, but as an EP, I like to work with my clients to get that up and going. Over the years, I've seen some mistakes. One of the biggest ones that I've found is being too overly critical or setting too high expectations on yourself in the beginning. We all are human, we all fuck up. Sometimes we don't train the amount that we're supposed to train that week. The key is to not be too harsh on yourself and make sure that that's all that is. It's okay to go in and out. Not every week's going to be perfect. Let it be the one small little mistake and don't let it snowball. And that happens when we're too harsh on yourself. For example, with myself, I put a lot of pressure to be a bit of a perfectionist. I like to practice what I preach, training 5 times a week. And so when I don't live up to that, sometimes I feel like I'm a fraud or I'm a failure, and then it can snowball into different things. And that's when the mistakes compound on themselves. So I've learned to take those weeks as they come. The next week is a new week, and I'm starting afresh, and I've got my goals for that week that I'm trying to achieve. And each week is different from each other. Another mistake that I've seen people make is just being aware of why it is they're training and the specific goals that they're working towards. I see all too often some people heading into the gym, just going through the motions, going through the reps, which is okay. It's better than not being there. But to maximize your return, it's good to have a clear plan and always refer back to why it is what you're doing, okay? And going back to that, and even just having someone there to write that down for you, plan ahead your sessions can be really rewarding. Or even yourself, just remembering that, hey, if my goal is to build on muscle mass, or even if I've got a specific goal, what it is that I'm working towards, and break that down into achievable steps. So that at least when you achieve that goal, you move on to the next one, and you don't get into that habit of just rocking up, going through the motions, just doing it because this is what I'm supposed to do. But always referring back to why it is you're doing what you're doing. As for me and my training and exercise goals, right now I'm training in the off season for my basketball competition, so I'm in the process of trying to increase my vertical jump. Once upon a time I was playing above the rim and dunking. As I've worked a bit more, I've lost that, so that's one of my goals, returning that and increasing my vertical jump. I'm increasing my overall body strength and cardiovascular fitness as well. I've recently just got my bike back, so I'm out on the road cycling. I've got a short-term goal of being able to achieve a muscle up with some more goals in the future that I'd like to achieve here at ZAR. So to achieve those goals, I'm going to start with some strength training in the gym here combined with Pilates. Pilates is something that I've neglected in the past, and I think it will translate very heavily over to something like basketball, and especially something like calisthenics, where I'm engaging my core, I'm aware of what my body's doing and the stability in all the joints, things like that. So my goal is to attend 1 Pilates class a week and 4 gym sessions a week. And I'm also going to be doing a little bit of field work to get my fitness up whilst it's in the off season, and then when the basketball season comes back, I'll be fit and ready to hit the ground running, and my performance hopefully is improved from last season. Professionally here at ZAR, I'm super excited to enter this space. I want to work with people both as a coach but also as a lifestyle, to let people live healthy, live fit, basically prolong their life. I love working with the people around here. I've worked previously with Darko and Svet, so it's an energetic group of people, which I'm really happy to be in that kind of environment. I'm going to be diving headfirst in. I'm going to be here 5 days a week, Monday through Friday. So you'll see me here every morning. So if you ever see me here, come say hey, have a quick chat. If you have any questions about any of the exercises or anything you're doing, whether it's sport or anything, just come and have a chat. I'm always up to chat with you guys, so that's all good. If you've made it this far and have listened to me ramble on and on about exercise, hit the subscribe button down below, hit the bell so that you'll get any notification of any future videos dropping. All my personal details where you can find and watch my journey, my Instagram, social media, you can also access that in the description below. If you're a big basketball fan, for all the basketball fans out there, I've also got a separate podcast / YouTube channel called The Ball Boys. If you search us up on YouTube, hit the subscribe button there as well, and we cover all sorts of things from NBA to fantasy basketball, so hit subscribe and give us a rating there as well. Cheers.